over it real quick. Don't feel like you have to code along or whatever. If you want to do it later, or if you did it last night because it was homework, good for you. But I'll show you a solution to that thing real quick. So it was to add an updated at field that gets updated every single time you save the thing. It's just a timestamp, just like the ID, except it gets updated every single time. So I would start down in the form where we define what a blank note is, and I would add a new field updated at, and just initialize it to null. Just, if nothing else, to remind us that that field is there. Obviously, it would just be undefined if you didn't do that, and that would be okay too. And it'll be undefined for any notes that already exist. Not a huge deal. And then in app.js, when you save the note, you just need to save this field too. And one thing we could do is just make a new variable const timestamp equals date.now. And then just use that same timestamp here to set the ID if setting the ID is necessary. Otherwise, down here where you set the ID of the note, also set, well, you could do it either any place, really. But note dot updated at equals timestamp. And you want to do that outside of the if, of course, because you do that either way. So I suppose you could do that right off the bat. Okay, me too. Yeah.
No, that's a real thing. So
yeah.
Generally, declare the variable.
That ought to do it, to at least set the value. But we wanted to sort by that thing, right? So that's a little more work. We would do that in the list where we map over the node IDs. Now we need to sort those node IDs before we map over them. At least we've already converted them to an array, right? So array sort, it's one of those array functions you learn about when you learn about map and reduce and filter and stuff. The way it works is you pass the sort method a function that tells it how to sort them. So it will pass in adjacent items in the array, and you basically give it a math problem that determines which one's larger than the other. So for something really easy, like just sorting by which thing is bigger, you just pass it a basic subtraction problem. Basically, if the function you pass in returns less than 0, then it assumes that the first argument it passed in should come before the other one in the array. And it's just going to call that as many times as it needs to sort the whole thing. So basically, this is what your function needs to look like. If you determine that the first argument is less than the other one, should come first, then you return less than 0. If they're equal, return 0. If A is the larger of the two, you return something positive, anything positive. So basically, you just need to come up with a subtraction problem. Because if a bigger number subtracts a smaller number, you're going to get a positive number, right? If a smaller number subtracts a larger number, you're going to get a negative number. If a larger number subtracts an equal number, you're going to get 0, right? So that's all this thing really needs to do. So I'll just make inside note list a new function called sort notes. It will take those two arguments because this is going to be called automatically when we call sort. And what I want to do is tell whether the timestamp is larger than the timestamp of the other one. So the things that will be passed in are the things in the array, which are the IDs, right? So A and B will both be node IDs. So to get the actual notes, I need to say, here I have notes, notes square bracket A, right? If A is an ID, and the thing I'm actually comparing is updated at. So then just subtract notes square bracket B dot updated at, and that basically does it. Whichever updated at is bigger, it'll return A negative number, 0, or a positive number appropriately. It's the new field we just made. It's just a timestamp. So it's going to be a number because the timestamps are the number of seconds since January 1st, 1970. So whichever one has a larger timestamp is the larger of the two and should come later. Now, go ahead.
So why is it January 1st, 1970?
Yeah, because Unix. I don't know the history there. But we actually wanted it to be most recently updated first, right? So we're sorting in reverse order. Like if these were just integers, 1 through 10, we would want 10 to be first. So we actually do it the other way around. We do B before A because we want reverse order. And one more thing, since they get initialized to null, we could initialize it to 0. 0 doesn't mean anything, so that kind of feels wrong. But we could initialize to 0, and this would be all we needed to do. But as it is, null minus a number doesn't work, and number minus null doesn't work. So what we could do is wrap each of these in parentheses and say updated at or 0. So if updated at is something falsy like null, or something falsy like 0 for that matter, it's going to run the or and return 0. If you do subtraction, I feel like I wouldn't have done this if it did, but let's find out. Valid question. Null minus 4, negative 4, 4 minus null. Yep, sure does. Seth recently did a deep dive into type coercion in JavaScript. So if he thinks it does that thing, he is probably right. So yeah, good. Keep it simple. So if our calculations are correct, that should work, as long as we then sort them. So node IDs should not just be object.keys.notes. It should be object.keys.notes.sort, and pass it in our sort notes function. Let's see what happens. So none of these have updated at values yet. So let's go to the bottom one and let's just make a change. It did not immediately go to the top. Bummer. Let's see if we do in fact have the value in the database. It's this one. No. What was it? How about now? Oh, wrong user.
Is it because you have deployed?
No, it's still talking to Firebase. I just don't remember which user it is. Is this? Oh gosh, dang it! My base.js in here is afternoon still. Give me just a second to switch back to the other base.js. Since it's not committed, it doesn't change when I change branches. Let's see here. I remembered to change which Firebase I had open, but I forgot to change my configuration back. Here are the morning notes. Okay. Let's go down to this one. Let's just make any change. There's the one that changed. There's updated at. Oh yeah, the others are still null, right? I think my function isn't working the way I expected. No, oh, I didn't return anything. This needs to return something. You have to actually not just do the math, but return the result of the math. Yeah.
Wasn't that just like the same, like the beginning, like the first question on Code Wars that you have to answer before you can even make an account?
What?
Like it has like the
Oh yeah,
function with
yeah,
the
right.
like the A.
You just have to you just have to troubleshoot, right? So let's see. Make another change here. Well, it moved up above this one now. So I think I don't know. The nulls seem to not be doing quite what I want. But now it goes to the very top once they all have values.
Or is it undefined in this one? Because those didn't have one.
Oh, correct. For those, it's undefined, and that's why. Yeah. So null, null, it will coerce. Undefined, it will not. So we need to do this just because we already have values in the database that do not have updated at. So those will be undefined, not null. Yep. So if you were starting from scratch in a new database, you wouldn't necessarily have to put that or there, but it still might be a good idea for safety. Yeah. So anyway, now I make a change to one of them. That one goes right to the top. I refresh the page. I'm always going to get them back in that order. So now they're sorted. And it's best not to have random order. So, yep, that's all there was to the homework. Don't sweat it too much if you didn't get the sort thing right away. But array sort is one of those things you should look up and try to fool around with and see if you can get some practice. Sort arrays, or sort notes by time of last update.
Is there a default sort? Like
Nope.
strings?
Nope. For strings. What do you mean for strings?
Like the alphabetical?
Oh, if you just do sort without paren. Oh, yes. I thought you meant if you didn't run sort at all. That was a dumb thing for me to think. Yes.
Well, I guess not necessarily alphabetical.
Because it depends on whether it's capital letter or lowercase letter. Because the character codes are, yeah. Anyway.
And also like string 1, 2 would be less than 2 because it's 1 and 2. Or no, the other way around.
It wouldn't be the number, right?
So
It'd be the string 1, 2. Not necessarily what you
like if
expect.
both